But one of the reasons why, as I mentioned it before, that we needed to, or when I say we, the colonies needed to amend the Articles of Confederation was because that document did not assist in any of the commerce for the states. And so, as a matter of fact, the North wanted to put in tariffs. I know, look,
Right.
tariffs were from we're talking 1787, and in 2026, we're still talking about tariffs. But northern states, because they were the industrialized states and were manufacturing a lot of things, whereas the South was more agrarian,
Agriculture. Yep.
they wanted, the North wanted to impose tariffs on the South. Say, look, you should be buying, we want tariffs on foreign from overseas stuff in order to force the South to buy our stuff, and we'll lower the tariffs on them. So it's a little better. We still get, income from them. And the South's like, no, 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 no. You should be putting tariffs on us to begin with, and don't screw yourself. And so commerce was a huge, huge deal, had been since the Articles of Confederation were first implemented. And now it's coming to a head. So what do we do with the Commerce Compromise?
Right. And no, and as Rob said, that's the whole thing about the Commerce Compromise, is because the federal government needed to be able to raise money, to essentially raise income, to be able to fund what the people wanted, to be able to put some of the things that they wanted to have the federal government be in charge of. You needed that. You need to be able to raise taxes. You need to be able to raise income. And so the Commerce Compromise actually was adopted as Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. That's where they put it into place and said that the legislature shall have the ability to tax and raise and tariff.
They tariff foreign goods, not on sister states. They mandated the tariffs are only allowed on imports from foreign countries and not exports from the United States or within
Correct.
the United States.
Right.
So
Right. And then you cannot tax one another, which is another good thing, because otherwise you'd be paying,
he's touching
money.
me. He's touching me.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So the Commerce Compromise said that, number one, the tariffs are for foreign, to be implemented on foreign countries. Second, that the federal government takes it out of the states' hands. The federal government is the one that's supposed to handle tariffs. So that eliminates the intra-state controversies that were going on. And that I'm reading my notes, all commerce legislation be passed by a 2/3 vote in the Senate. And of course, the Senate is based on equal representation. So all
Right.
the states had a say in it.
Right. And I mean, and even after this was passed, there were still issues that the government dealt with where, especially during the Garfield administration, where you had a situation where New York was essentially the largest port that bringing in imports from overseas, and that you would have basically the person that was in charge of the ports there were the ones that were taking the tariffs and controlled essentially everything that went on in the government. That they could say, well, look, we're not gonna release this, or we're not gonna, we'll overlook this one tariff over here and this over here, until it was actually federalized and fully federalized under the Garfield administration. And so, that's still, it's a key thing that people, I know, overlook, because it also affected everything else that the government could do.